Hey guys, Reginald Duck here, back today with another deck profile. So for today I've got the Generaider list. I had a build, but then it was so bad I didn't bother playing it, like recording it, but with the new support this deck is actually really good. This card breaks the deck, so you can just like summon 2, 3, about 3 rank 9s turn 1, or you can have like one massive rank 9 with loads of materials. So let's get into it. So for the main deck, I've got 3 copies of Vala. This is the best Generaider without a doubt, even better than Lot Touch from deck. So this one, if it's in your hand or graveyard, you can discard a Generaider card, special summon this card, and then separate effect, when this card is special summoned, you can special summon a Generaider from grave. So basically you discard a different Generaider, summon this, summon that back, 3 rank 9. When it leaves the field it is banished, but I mean, you're just going to overlay with it, so that'll never really come up. So obviously 3 copies, it is a fairy fire, so it's really good attributes for the World Legacy Monstrosity, because it's very weird typing, so you can summon like the good ones from deck. 3 copies of Lopter, Shadow of the Generators, of the Generaider bosses, sorry. So basically, quick effect during the main phase, so either player's turn, you can tribute it, you can summon a Generaider from deck, and then your opponent's Generator, all your Generators gain 1000 attack. So really cool, just whatever you need it to be. It's good to discard because then you can bring it back off Vala. You can just normal summon it if you need to. 3 copies. We're playing 2 copies of Mardell. I've bumped this up to 2 because a lot of the times now you want stuff to discard off Vala, because I'm not playing any of the Generator spells or traps except for the field spell. So I wanted to bump up the actual Generator count. I think all the traps are really outdated, so I just wanted more Generators to discard. This card's really good, artwork's obviously amazing, so when it's summoned I think it is, you can search either a plant or a Generator card. So I've seen people play it in like Sun Avalon decks. You can play like a Sun Avalon version of this, but this is more pure. Just searches your Generator field spell or a Valor if you need it or whatever else. And then you've got 2 copies of Ha. This is the best one on your opponent's turn, like you have to summon off a field spell. Basically it has 2 effects. So obviously it's 3k, which is nice. Basically, if your opponent adds a card to their hand, they just send a card from hand to graveyard. And then its other effect, you can tribute 2 Generator monsters or spellcaster monsters, or a mix of the 2, and it can negate a card effect basically. So it can negate Nibiru, can negate whatever you need. Really good card. I don't know why it's also the biggest one, since it's the best one, but you know. 1 copy of Bloodguardia, Generator Boss of Delusion. Basically this is the other one that tributes 2, so this one is a quick effect banish, so I think it just banishes a card on the field. It does target I believe, but yeah, target one card on the field and banish it, but still it tributes 2 because it's better. The rest of them just tribute 1 for their effects now. It's got the Nidhogg. This one negates inherent special summons, so it's not amazing, but you do want different types, different attributes because of the World Legacy Monstrosity. I'd say this is the worst one. And then we've got 1 copy of Hela. This card is still really good. If you manage to summon the Vala out and you've not used its effect yet, if you summon it off Monstrosity for example, you can tribute this, summon back Vala, summon something else. So really cool. This helps you do the double hand rip with Enter Blathnir, so play 1 copy. Also, it's on the map. How insane is that? 3 copies of Diviner of the Herald. This just sends Vala from deck to grave. I really like this card. It just adds a lot of consistency because you only have 1 of the normal summon anyway. And if you open both, then you just summon this, and then the Lopter that you've got in hand, you discard to summon Vala. So it just works out really well. It's awkward sometimes because once you summon this and send a 9, it becomes an 11, so it just sort of sits on your field, but I've not really found anything to do with it. If you've already got Vala, you could send Trias Hierarchia. Hierarchia is a 9, it uses its effect, tributes Diviner, comes back, and you've got yourself a 9 on board. It's good, and then if you draw it, you can like tribute Vala if you wanted to, for some reason, summon this. Then for the hand traps, got 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. It's just a very good sort of overall card, good against Branded, good against whatever else. It's not good against Kashtera, but I mean, That's a shame, isn't it? You just want to hit branded fusion a lot of the time. I mean, you can Ash like a Fenrir, for example, but the odds are whatever they were searching, they're going to have anyway. It's just like an extra card they wanted. 3 copies of Nibiru. This is good against Kashtira. Just they can play around it to an extent if they want to go for a more control variant where they go for like a Rise Heart and like a few hand traps, but a lot of the time if they try to do like the 5-zone lock, then they just get Nibiru and they just lose. So I am main decking this. You can also main deck Book of Eclipse if you wanted, but I just prefer Nibiru. And then onto the spells. Got 3 copies of Generaider Boss Stage. This card is insane. So basically, when your opponent adds a card to their hand, except during the damage step, you can special summon a Generator monster from your deck, and then if they've added during their turn, then you can summon tokens until your board is basically full. So it just gives you loads of fodder to tribute for your guys. So basically, you activate this, their draw phase, you just summon out a guy for free. So really, really cool. 3 copies of World Legacy Monstrosity. This card is cracked. So basically, it has 2 effects. You can special summon a level 9 from your hand, which is not the effect you want, but I mean if it unbricks your hand, that's fine. And the other effect, a really good one, is if you control a level 9, target it and then summon 2 with different names than each other and different type and attribute than the targeted card. So you could just like, if you control Vala, you can summon out, for example, Hela and the Mardell, which is your searcher. So really, really good. There's a lot of combos with this. Like this is, if you control a 9 and you activate this, then you can do the double Enterblathner hand rip combo, and then you end on a F0, you know, the Utopic Draco future. So really cool. 3 Pot of Prosperity, because you're playing a lot of high level monsters, you don't want to brick, you want to be able to see your Vala every single game, because the main deck is largely what it was before. If you don't see Vala, you are playing as if Photon Hypernova didn't come out and the deck wasn't particularly playable before. So 3 Prosperity. 1 Terraforming, you want to see the field spell. A lot of the times you can search it, but I want to guarantee seeing it because I'm not playing any of the ones that like activate it from deck or anything. So 1 copy. 1 Kujikiri Curse. This card is actually quite good now because the Vala can summon back from grave, so you just discard it, draw 2. I'm only playing the 1 because it's hard ones per turn, and if you just see this without a 9, it is just a complete brick. Or if you don't want to discard one of your 9s, for example. Then for the Spice, we're just maining 3 evenly because I absolutely hate facing Cash, because that deck is so unfun, especially when you're trying to play a fun deck like this. If you're playing meta, fair enough, but if you're just not and they just lock loads of zones or whatever, you just want to be able to get rid of the board, start from scratch. Really, really good card. And then lastly, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. It's a really, really strong trap, doesn't trigger talents or thrust or anything. Just better than Vala, let's be honest. So that's it for the main deck. And then for the extra deck, I've got 2 copies of Leviathan. This card is really good. So this is the new one from Photon Hypernova. Basically, you can summon it with any number of materials you want. You tend to summon it to the extra monster zone, but you don't have to. Basically, you can tribute this card and then attach, and then it summons the Jormungandr, which I'll tell you about in a second, and then attach monsters, well cards, sorry, from either player's field or graveyard to it. So it's just non-targeting removal basically. So this has 3 materials, you tribute it, summon Jormungandr, attach 3 of your opponent's monsters, and it is a quick effect. So if they've got something engraved that's about to activate in a new chain, you can just attach it all. Really, really good card, like insanely good. Also, all your opponent's monsters lose 1000 attack and defense. And then got 2 copies of Jormungandr. So this one gains 1000 attack for each material it has, and then during either player's turn I can detach one, and then both players draw a card, and then both players attach a card to this from their hand. So really, really good. You don't want to do it in their turn. If you just like, if they're trying to break your board and you make them draw a card, the odds are they're going to give you the worst card in the hand, then they just +1 essentially. So I tend to summon it, you know, in their turn, obviously attaching everything. Then end phase, detach to make us both draw, then place. one under it, because then in my turn I can make them draw again. So then realistically they can't do a lot in their end phase or my turn unless they draw a hand trap, and then it gains 1,000 for each. It also triggers the field spell by making them draw a card, so the odds are you probably triggered the field spell in their turn, but you can do it again in your turn. So detach 1 gains 2, so it gets bigger each time. 2 copies of Phantom Fortress Enter Blathnir. That's quite hard to say. Basically has 4 effects. So once per turn I can detach material from this card and activate one of these effects. Banish a card my opponent controls, banish a random card of my opponent's hand, banish a card from my opponent's graveyard, or banish the top card of their deck face up. So generally you want to banish a card from their hand, but I mean banishing the card my opponent controls, these effects aren't hard once per turn, and it's really good, so it doesn't target, so you can just, like, for example, rip 1 from hand, banish 1 or whatever you need, so really good. And then once you've used them both, you can make them into an F0, so 2 copies. 1 Infinitrack Earth Slicer, can detach any number of materials, destroy that many cards, so really cool. It's also massive. If it destroys something by battle, it can attach it as a material. 1 Sacred Tree Beast Hyperiton. This card is also really good. So in your opponent's turn it is a negate, in your turn it is not. So in your turn, if you activate, for example, a spell, you can attach a spell to it from grave. In your opponent's turn, detach that type of card, negate that type of card. They activate a spell, you detach a spell, for example. But this only negates in your opponent's turn, so it is not an out to Nibiru in your turn. So bear that in mind. 1 Meriologic Aggregator. When it's summoned, you can send a card from your extra deck to the graveyard, so you could send Intis, for example. Now when it's sent to graveyard, it can negate something. So it'll just like negate a face-up card. So, and also it can detach to swap its materials. So detach 2, reattach the one you've sent, so you could reattach the Intis. So when it dies, you can then use Intis and this and like chain it 1, chain it 2. So really cool. 9 Lives Cat. Detach, reborn a 9 from your grave or any monster from your opponent's grave. It rarely comes up. You could probably play anything in this spot if you want to play like a third of anything, or double up so you can avoid the Kashtira, like ripping a card out your extra, but just playing the 1 of. Then got the Utopic Future package. Just literally put this on top of the 2 Enter Blathnir, put this on top of that. This can't be destroyed by battle, and it's a monster negate just by detaching, so really cool. Got 2 copies of Zeus because you don't want to just get one ripped out your extra deck by Kashtira, so just play 2 copies. Anything else you feel the same way, just play 2 of. So basically, anytime anything battles, you can place this on any XYZ battles, you place this on top main phase 2, and then quick effect, not even once per turn, not even once per chain, sorry, detach 2, send every other card on the field to the graveyard. So really good card. And then lastly, 1 copy of Intis. So when it's sent to the graveyard, destroy a card. You can destroy either player's cards as well. So just destroy this, or send this from extra, either Diviner or the Aggregator, destroy a card in the field, bring it back off the Aggregator, get rid of the Aggregator, it destroys again. So really good card. So that's it for the extra deck. I've not done a side deck, but I'm just going to quickly show you the double hand rip combo. So I'm not going to make this its own combo tutorial because there's not that many combos in the deck, it's just summon as many level 9s as possible, but I think this is really cool, so I'm just going to show you this one. So you're going to go for the Lopter, you're going to attribute it to someone from deck, I'm going to grab the copy of Vala, I'm going to activate World Legacy Monstrosity to summon out 2 more, so we're going to grab the Hela and the Mardell. Mardell is going to search, we're going to grab a boss stage, and then we're going to overlay these 2, summoning Enter Blathnir, and we're going to detach the Vala to rip a card from my opponent's hand, and then we're going to tribute the Hela to bring back the Vala, bring back Hela. I'm going to make another copy of Enter Blathnir. I'm going to detach again, rip another card from my opponent's hand, so I've banished 2 of their cards now. This is still in hand. I'm going to overlay these 2, to make Utopic Future and Draco Future. So that gives us 3 monster negates, but only 1 per turn. Then you activate the boss stage, and then during your opponent's draw phase you can summon from deck and then obviously get a load of tokens. So basically, off just 2 cards, you've managed to rip 2 cards, you've got a boss stage and you've got the Draco Future. Obviously any other extenders will help, but that's just like the basic combo. So I'm not going to go too far into any others because a lot of them are quite self-explanatory. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.